is still on the wane, and that's really good. So kind of where are we at, and what are we doing? Well, we're currently running a large fleet of Tetra radios. We're in the middle of starting a refresh very shortly, which is the kind of precursor. And it just shows the knock-on effect. We've had to buy a whole load more because of the challenges of ESN, which I actually think when it does deliver, is going to give us loads and loads of capacity and capability that we never had before. And I'm going to come on to that shortly. There's a countdown not working. This is this 5 minutes I was going to kind of take off, so you all voted for me. Body worn video. We have rolled out around 22,000 units. Until next week, I think it will remain the largest rollout in the world. NYPD apparently will eclipse us, but I would say that's taken them 3 visits to London to understand how to do it. So we can, okay, we're still doing all right. We've seen a reduction in 40% of complaints against our frontline officers for what I would consider to be the gritty elements of policing. And that has been incredibly, incredibly powerful. So our reduction in complaints of assault, incivility, etc. And across the piece, it's around 20%, which in terms of our officers keeping them on the street, not suspended or gated, building community confidence that we have an accountable, transparent police service, driving up standards. We did some research within our officers, and not one of them will say it's changed the way they police. It's never changed behaviours, but a significant number said it's changed the way colleagues police. Just think about that for a second. So that's one of the unintended consequences. We've run out laptops and tablets, and for those of you who know, we may have had a few, we've got huge differentials of usage in the tablets. Some will use them all the time, others don't. We have some challenges. The laptops have been massively successful with our officers. But part of the challenge, I think, is the cultural shift. The cultural shift from the comfort of the police station to actually working in the community. To actually dealing with people who say to our officers, hang on a minute, what are you doing sat here in Starbucks, wasting your time, when they're actually updating crime reports? If our officers, for instance, were in the London Borough of Newham, where you find yourselves now, I mean, I know it's beautiful outside, but there are centres of it that are an epicentre for crime. But if we put them in McDonald's, because it's a bit cheaper than Starbucks, if we put them in McDonald's in Stratford, actually they would probably be in a 1 mile radius of all of the key and impactful crime that goes on in that borough. So far better to have them there working on reports and capable of responding, being visible in the community. And that's one of our challenges. But the challenge for us is this, is that if we get a new type of technology, we have to ensure that the whole process, from arrest to taking them to court, through the police custody process, etc., all becomes mobile, all becomes electronic, and that workflow is continuous. Because if there's a reason they need to go back to the police station, we've lost that competitive advantage. And right now they have to go back to dock their video cameras. So although they can do the statements in the community, they still have to dock the video camera, and that's a wasted opportunity. IVMA, that's our mobile data terminals. For those who know or don't know particular suppliers, if you're going to supply me with technology that gives me pictures and information in the vehicle, as of the end of October, or middle October, don't bother, because it's illegal. South Wales Police have got a legal case going on, and somewhere else has. However, think about facial recognition. If you change that to object recognition, and you talk about looking for a red jumper in the community, suddenly the element of personalisation goes, and yet you still get the same result. So it's about how you talk about these issues with communities and what you're actually looking for. Red jumpers don't discriminate, unless there's a group I don't know about, but kind of red jumpers don't discriminate. And then finally, robotics. We are starting now to experiment with robotics, and we've done a small amount of work. But this is really great, and it's expensive. Moore's Law talks about everything getting faster, etc. But the reality is, anybody who's owned an iPhone, it ain't getting any cheaper, is it? It goes up and up in price. So what we need to do is demonstrate a true return on investment. The public sector is challenged for money. and it is challenged for resources. But I truly believe the public sector has got money to spend on the right things. And also, if we're going to get the brightest and the best within our agency, we are going to have this technology. Because young people, as we found out with some of our learning, don't come to work to learn in classrooms, Generation X and Z. They learn via short YouTube clips, which again we're working on, and they've been really successful. Peer-to-peer learning. We now have our own channel called Netflix. I'm not sure how we got away with that one, but we have Netflix, and we encourage officers to make their own kind of short 30-second, 1-minute hacks, put them on video, and they're hugely popular. We've looked at gamification. We've looked at eye tracking, we've looked at immersive learning, and there's some here today with Leicestershire Fire and Rescue that if you've not seen it, you want to have a look at that. It's really, really great. And I think for me, that's the future of learning. It's no longer cramming 5 days learning into a week and a half in a classroom in Hendon. And that was one of the challenges when we do video, body-worn video. I had to train 32,000 people and roll it out in 364 days, which we did. And we did that through gamification, immersive learning, and video, peer-to-peer learning, with some quick tests at the end. And I think, particularly for shift workers, they can access that whenever they want. 3 o'clock in the morning, do you know what? I don't know how to do it. Let's log on and watch that 1-minute video. Massively impactful, and of course reduced our training costs significantly, allows us a common platform to update people, so when legislation changes and process changes. And again, I've talked about attracting bad people, catching bad people. That is what we're in the business of doing. It's about making sure we give our information to our officers so they can make timely and informed decisions. For me, the challenge is this. I worked at a command not too far from here, about 3 miles actually, and one of the acid tests for me was when my officers drove out of the police station, did they turn left or did they turn right? Now, an officer with 20-25 years in that particular area would know whether we're going to turn left or turn right. I'm dealing with young officers with 2 years service who don't, so we need to put the information in the vehicle or onto the radio or the tablet so they know, do they go left or do they go right? The right areas to patrol to maximise every minute that they go on patrol. Because ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, if you live in London, it's your houses, or if you work in London, it's you personally these people are looking after. So we have to make sure they have timely information to make those really important decisions, but also know where they are when they're making them. And finally, improving the customer experience. Unless you contract the Crays, the Richardsons, or a number of other people, you're kind of pretty much stuck with us. We are your law enforcement organisation. We deliver to you day in, day out, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. But we have to get better. We have to improve the customer experience. It cannot be right that we're asking a victim their name and address and date of birth 5 times. Our systems should auto-populate. We should know about the history that they've had before we get there. I want my officers to be able to turn up at Mrs. Miggins' house if she has been the victim of a burglary, to know that 6 months ago she was the victim of burglary. So it doesn't come as a surprise, so we can give that extra care. Sometimes, catching bad people is really, really important, but equally, it's about how we treat victims and how we give them that quality of service. And we're not there yet, but I think with that customer records management and all that good stuff, the CRM, I think we can get better. So some of the key lessons that I've personally learned when we've gone through the journey of introducing some of these new technologies, but in reality, business change processes. They are, you cannot do enough customer and stakeholder analysis. You absolutely cannot. One of the tricks that we've employed is where we're finding the pilots under usage in particular pockets. You've got high-end users, or they've sold, they've bought it. Bring in the under users, the people who are quite dismissive of it, have a day with them, force them to come in and tell you why they don't use it. Gandhi talked about a percentage of the population that no matter what you did, you couldn't influence them. My view is this: great man as he was, Gandhi didn't work for the Met. If we're giving you technology, we expect you to use it. And we expect you to use it for those better outcomes around customer engagement and catching bad people and retaining key staff. So again, building your team. It's really tempting to bring in people who are really great with technology. Actually, you don't. You want a mixture of technologists and operationally proficient individuals in the discipline you're working in, because it gives your product credibility and reality, and it reduces your test phase. COTS or build your own. Really difficult. The police force thinks it's a big buyer. In certain areas, it is. In the vast majority, it's not. Why do we bespoke some of our system? Asset management is the same whether you've got radios, body-worn video, or you've got things that airlines are using. You know, let's buy commercial off the shelf wherever we can. And again, if we can't do that, let's promote common standards and make sure we have frameworks with 2 or 3 key suppliers that we can work with on longer contracts over a period of time. And I'm delighted, absolutely delighted, that that's the direction of travel that the Met are going in right now. We're out currently, and I can't say too much because there are a couple of people in the audience potentially who are involved in it, command and control. That's a 10-year contract initially, with a 5-year extension. So finally, where do I think we're actually going? I've kind of a quasi-Venn diagram. Organisationally, and kind of within the Met, I think we're going to be really maximising big data and AI, which is really helpful, given that there's a couple of other presentations and sections of this entire massive event on about that. That's the directions. But more importantly, if we can't all play nicely together, if we can't all buy from the same supplier initially because we're locked into long-term contracts, let's promote long-term common standards. And Police ICT Company are doing some, and National Chiefs Enabling Council are doing some really great work in that. So that's the kind of collective. Let's have some common standards. And finally, where do I think this is going to impact on the individual officer? My view is the Emergency Services Network, ESN, which I'm really proud to have a lead role in within the Met and do some national work. ESN is going to be at the centre of the ecosystem for all of this. The days of buying 6 separate SIM cards are gone. We'll have 1 or 2, and that will drive everything. So that'll be at the kind of individual level. So ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm just about on time, or slightly over by a couple of minutes.